Okay. Hi, my name is Marcin. I'm a Shuttleworth Fellow for 2012, and this is my reapplication. Apologize for the sloppiness here. I'm actually going to Bioneers in a little while and doing this as my preliminary version. So let's start with what I promised last year and what I delivered. So in last year's application, I promised 42 staff to be recruited in 2 months to complete 13 product releases by the first quarter. I also promised to secure a $500,000 budget by January and to deliver $80,000 per month by mid-year in bootstrap earnings from production. So I didn't accomplish much of the above, though we did secure the $590K by January if the Shuttleworth funding is included. Regarding the first point, I now understand that the scaling from a few volunteers to full staff is not possible without a well-organized recruiting and onboarding process. We're without such a process, and the development process is not at this point stable. It's constantly evolving. So it took much longer than expected also to evolve our workshop up to 40 kilowatts of off-grid electrical power due to equipment failures. Because we did not produce the full prototypes, as we said, we got nowhere close to the monthly earnings expected, though our recent results on collaborative production indicated that we're still in a good position to demonstrate the $5,000 per day earnings, translating to $20,000 per month earning capacity by the end of this year. So back to the drawing board. It's also not that we didn't do anything this year, so this is what we did accomplish. Since the Shuttleworth application, 24 more GVCS prototypes have been built this year still. So that's not too bad. Because so to see the evolution of this from 2008 to present, look at the prototypes built and cost graph. I will link that. And the first replication of the GVCS happened last year, the compressed earth brick press, and since then there have been 13 replications worldwide in 4 countries after the Civilization Starter Kit initial version of the DVD was published. So that was the beta releases, the tractor, brick press, pulverizer, and power unit. So we've been scaling, reorganizing the development effort, installing structure and process, addressing that badly missing point. So I hired a full-time videographer, executive assistant, director of development, and 4 OSE chapters have started in Europe. We have a major collaboration now with a TED Fellow in Guatemala, which resulted in a commitment to deploy the prototypes of 5 tractors, 5 power cubes, and 2 brick presses within 1 year, with the first tractor already being completed. Look on the wiki for that. So on the organizational front, we've incorporated OSC, we've got the nonprofit tax-exempt status application in process. We stabilized the factory farm population at 6, up from 2 last winter. We did secure, including the Shuttleworth Fellowship, $590K for 2012, which is a considerable jump from the $2,000K per month budget of 2010. We spent a total of $110K on infrastructure upgrades since last year. So now we've got the Hab Lab, the 10-person living unit. We've completed the 4,000 square foot workshop. We dug a well, installed power infrastructure for the 40 kilowatts of off-grid workshop power, both 1 and 3 phase. And we also got a backup connection to rural water. We spent $73,000 on GVCS development this year so far, and our development efficiency, though, as you see in the graph, is dropping from $3,000 per year last year to $8,000 per year. $3,000 per prototype last year to $8,000 per prototype this year. And that's simply a matter that we are spending all our money on infrastructure, or most of it. We don't have a streamlined process for development, and now we're paying people instead of relying completely on volunteers. So development costs are rising, though they're still quite low. So the overall process for development and prototyping is completely in development. We're building on our learnings, and 2 major milestones of learning were the development of the fabrication diagram method, where we are swarming on prototypes builds by optimizing task allocation, mapping out the whole process, and then applying it to a collaborative production run method, which relies on a fabrication diagram for its efficiency. So far we showed that we can produce the brick press in 4 days, largely with unskilled labor at that, and we're on track to demonstrate that we can do this in 1 day for a net of $5,000 generated per day. And that's a basis for the $80,000 per month earnings levels that we talked about before. So based on these results, we're now extending this collaborative run process to participation by the actual user, buyer of the machine, so that on November 23rd, we're inviting the first ever person, the actual buyer, to build his machine and pay us for it. I also published on a broader scale the strategic plan for 10 years. We're planning on deploying OSC incubators 144 worldwide by 2023. So, considering the lack of infrastructure, everything else this year, we did okay. And we should keep in mind that we're doing technological, social, economic, organizational innovation, a total ecology of innovations all at the same time. For example, we have, as far as I know, the world's only off-grid digital fabrication facility. In terms of social enterprise, we're defining the next level of such enterprise, the distributive enterprise, where we've just introduced the concept in the forthcoming issue of the MIT Innovations Journal. We're not only doing the open product development, but constantly going back to the drawing board on refining the method. We're dogfooding our inventions for core operating infrastructure at that. And that is to build the extra level of accountability to show that, to understand and know that our tools really work. So for example, this added a bunch of time to the construction because of brick quality issues last year. But even though this adds complexity and therefore time, we are getting slow successes of autonomous, bootstrapping, lean, open source organization, positioning itself for viral replicability, which is our core intent. By that metric, we're doing okay. In fact, I believe that our deep approach is the reason why we will prevail in creating fundamental solutions to any pressing world issues related to material resilience. The critical missing piece last year was infrastructure, not only physical but organizational, process, structure, management. It was difficult when in the middle of the summer our power and water infrastructure collapsed, but we solved these issues by and large, digging a second well, connecting to city water for backup, but we can still be compromised if our high-power inverters fail in a workshop. So this once again underscores the importance of open source substitution for power infrastructure now, just like we have started this whole game by beginning to build our own tractors when our tractors were breaking. So far we've spent $180K this year on everything, of which the largest cost was infrastructure, and that means the living and working structures are sound at this point. So next is the organizational part. The major learning from this year was that we forgot somewhat of a little detail, not a little detail, and that is, in a development budget, we completely neglected to consider that a complex technology development process like ours needs a serious organizational management and process infrastructure if it intends to scale. That was not clear to me because I was doing everything myself, and now everything has to be delegated. I have no well-defined standards or procedures to make this happen, and this wasn't entirely obvious to me. Quite in fact, the opposite. It was counterintuitive because I've been living out loud, leaving a large paper trail behind me. However, it's now clear that an essentially ad hoc, local coordination process lacks the rigor to inform strategic delegation on time, on schedule, with the appropriate quality control that's needed to scale to a much larger community. The ad hoc process works only under the bottleneck of a strong leader, whose part I played before, but no more. I got stretched too thin and failed. So part of this is because we're doing things differently and in a highly integrated way. Primarily, we design for product ecology, not individual products, and then dog food them. And essentially, we're turning modern industry upside down on its head and building a community from dirt and twigs up to advanced civilization while we're at it. So while it was easy to do the one-man show, can this community in the middle of nowhere, Missouri, scale? That's a good question, and that's my next challenge, and here's the platform. So the general goal is to build capacity and organizational infrastructure until the end of 2013, until we get our process and everything and all the infrastructure down. So that in 2014 through 2015, we have a 2-year rapid development session where all the 50 prototypes are complete to full product release, no less. So here's our platform. It's 7 steps. First, we're shifting our effort from recruiting prototypers to machine designers as the core, as we verified from the collaborative production run results that we are able to build a machine in 1 or 2 days given a month of design preparation, culminating in a fabrication diagram procedure. Thus, we can recruit designers and then build all the machines out in-house with largely unskilled labor under the guidance of an experienced fabricator. So point 2 of the platform. We're crystallizing the development and documentation processes. I'm simply refining the 120-step flashy XM platform jumble of steps down to about 20 critical design and documentation steps, non-negotiable, defining clear ways for each step, clear routes. Step 3. So refocus the development, that's technically speaking, around module-based design, not machine-based design. And there's a very important distinction here. To give an example, it turns out that it takes about 13 modules to build any of the 30 mechanical Global Village construction set machines. So now imagine designing for these 13 modules instead of the numerous components of the 30 different machines. Now that's a substantial savings, and it extends our modularity way beyond the mere fact that some of the tools are already modules, such as the power cube, or such that the interchangeability of motors can happen. We're taking this to the whole new level. Platform step 4. This year we started the flash mob concept, recruiting experts in specific technical areas for on-demand work sessions. We have 180 people in our database so far, spanning design, engineering, electronics, and other areas, and we'll continue to recruit until we have several thousand in our database by the end of 2013, so that when we run into any technical development issue, we can solve it immediately. Imagine calling a development session, having 20 of the world's leading experts at your fingertips who you can access reliably with little or no lead time. We've had an initial few sessions of this. It's working. So point number 5, we're developing further technical review boards to get our machinery to industry standards. That's the critical review step that we've been neglecting, but it's really important if we simply want the best in the fastest time possible. Step 6, we're refining our positioning by working with a branding expert, which influences a lot about our positioning, the way we present ourselves, our media strategy, and down to how we pitch the program to developers. Step 7. So most importantly, we're recruiting the 4 machine designers and a product lead to run the prototyping operations. The product lead is the operations manager, so-called. So the difficulty for me was a lot about communicating the method. The method was complex, but with the refocus around fabrication diagram method, collaborative production runs, module-based approach, extensive review, flash mobs of experts, we are positioning ourselves for true scaling of the development method, now understanding that it takes an organizational infrastructure and clear process to make this happen. Thank you.